Hey yogis, thanks for joining me today for Yin Yoga. We're going to start in child's pose and we'll talk about Yin Yoga and kind of the functional purpose of it as we move through the first few poses. So go ahead and come into child's pose and take a few deep breaths here. Take the knees a little bit wider than you normally have them. Sink the hips a little bit deeper. Reach out through the fingertips. Start to walk the hands over to the right side, all the way off of your mat. So we're going to get lots of length on one side, lots of compression on the other. So in a Yin Yoga practice, one of the functional purposes for this practice is to kind of regain the suppleness that we lose in the joints. We lose range of motion through a lot of the yang practices that we do, or anything that heats up the body and creates sweat would be considered a yang practice. And when we sweat, we lose fluids, and that fluid has to come from somewhere. So even though we can replenish, it's easy for muscles to rehydrate, but we start to lose the fluid from the ligaments and tendons. And that's when we just start to get a little more stiff in the morning when we wake up. Kind of the joints get tight and feel less supple. So in a yin practice, we take time in these positions to allow fluid to get back into the ligaments and tendons. Go ahead and walk the hands back to center and then on over to the other side. So in a yang practice, the muscles and ligaments and tendons are designed to protect the joints while we stress muscles. In a yin practice, we're going to keep everything really relaxed so that we can stress the joints and regain that suppleness. A few more breaths here. One of the other aspects of a yin practice is finding that particular level of discomfort in any shape you end up in. And so this is not really, as far as I'm concerned, not really a practice. This is our training for the practice off the mat. Go ahead and walk the hands back to center. So we find this level of discomfort in each pose we end up in, a level that we are able to sit in without trying to fix it and without avoiding it. And it teaches us to have those difficult moments or conversations or situations in life, and be able to just face them and sit in them. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes and lift the hips up into down dog without avoiding it or trying to fix anything, but really being able to sit in the discomfort. And that's where that change can begin. From your down dog, start to walk the hands back to meet the feet. Keep the feet hip width apart. You can bend the knees as much as you want to here. Let the belly rest on the thighs. Cross the arms. And take your feet even a little bit wider if that gives you more of a sense of stability and ground. Notice how the body moves as you breathe. Last few breaths here. And start to walk the hands toward the front of the mat. Right back into down dog. Yogis, from your down dog, inhale forward to a plank position, and then we're going to come all the way onto the belly. So take the arms out to the sides, and we'll start here by turn your head toward the left hand, and then we're going to just come into this belly twist here. So let's see here. So start to take that left foot, step back behind you. You want that arm right in line with the shoulder. Make sure the palm is facing down. So if your neck is a little bit sore in this position, you can always shove something under your head, and that should help the neck feel better. All right. You can use this front hand as some support or leverage. And then notice how the body moves as you breathe. So some people like to bend this bottom knee and take that twist even further. Some people like to reach back and interlace the hands behind the back, but just know that that creates internal rotation on that bottom arm. And we're really looking for this nice big external rotation to get into that joint. So maybe you're better off just leaving this hand in the front, all right? One of the other functional purposes of a yin practice is the meridian system. That system from traditional Chinese medicine. Those energy channels that run through the body that are associated to a particular organ or system function. So in these shapes we can create lots of length along some of the meridians and lots of compression on the other ones, and that starts to stimulate the flow of that prana or chi through the body. Whatever you call this level of awareness that you got this time around. Start to lengthen and compress and balance out each of those meridian channels. Last few breaths here. And slowly start to roll onto the belly. We'll take a couple breaths here. You can turn the head to the other side before we switch sides. And then go ahead and start to step back behind you with that right foot. And keep that palm facing down so you get that nice big external rotation on the back arm. Last few breaths here. And then slowly begin to roll onto the belly. And turn the head to the other direction just for a couple of breaths. Take a few breaths here on the belly. Thank you. Notice how the body moves as you breathe in this position. And last few breaths here. Start to walk the hands toward the front of the mat. And then from your down dog yogi, come right onto the shins here. So we're gonna do camel a few times. In a yin practice, it does feel like a kind of a strong yang pose, but we're gonna do this 3 times, 1 minute each time. So I'm gonna double my mat over to give my knees a little bit of extra cushion here. And then if you, you can stay on the tops of the feet, so you can just reach back for the heels. When you come into camel, make sure that you reach back for the heels with both hands at the same time. Don't do that twisty arm up over the head thing. You're just gonna fuck up your low back, right? It may not be today, but it'll be one day. So you wanna make sure you lean back and reach with both hands at the same time. If that seems like they're too far away, you can always tuck the toes under for less distance to travel. Reach back with both hands at the same time. All right,
The other thing you can do as a modification is to use blocks if you have them. So that's even less distance. And then the real key is to reach up through the front of the body here. All right. And then the last thing, if all of that is ridiculous, and it could be for a lot of reasons, go ahead and bring your fist to your low back. And instead of trying to lean back or push the hips forward, just focus on squeezing the elbows together behind you. So you're going to feel that up in the upper part of the chest more, maybe. All right. There's also no pressure to drop the head back. For a lot of reasons, keeping the chin tucked is going to make sense, okay? So we're going to do this 3 times, 1 minute each time. Whatever position you can breathe softly in. And come out of this with the shoulders level, not twisting out of it. And we'll just sit on the feet for a moment. And then go ahead and lift up onto the shins and any version you're working on. There's no pressure to go deeper each time. Relax the jaw. And then come on up and we'll sit on the heels, take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll do that one more time. So resist the temptation to do a big old counter pose here. We'll get to one after the last round of camel. All right. So one more minute. That's about 6 breaths, really. So focus on the breath and notice how the body moves as you breathe in this shape. Nice calm breath. Let the tongue drop from the roof of the mouth. Okay, yogis, come up with the shoulders even. And sit on the heels just for a few breaths here. So you can keep that nice length along the front of the body. And then we'll meet up in child's pose. Nice work. Okay, start to walk the torso up, swing the legs around to the front. You can bounce the knees, rock the legs side to side. Just kind of let all of that go. We've done a lot of upper body yin work today, so now we're going to get down into the lower body. So you can turn sideways on your mat if you like a little cushion under the heels. Take the feet wide, and then we're going to come into a forward fold into this pose called dragonfly yin yin. If you feel like you're just kind of like stuck on the back of the hips or not really getting anywhere, it's just super tight here, bend the knees. You can put a block under the knees. You can also bend the knees a lot, bring the feet all the way on the mat, and then come forward. You're going to feel that in the hips, which is what we want to do, is focus on the joint action, the joint mobility. And so even this, for me, is pretty satisfying. So just come as far forward as you can, and then let the back round. You can let the head hang. You can rest the torso on a bolster or a cushion, and you can let the head rest even on a block if you like. But whatever you do, once you get in it without futzing around, and then be still. Relax the toes, the ankles. Notice how the body moves as you breathe. And take a deep inhale. And sink a little bit deeper. And last few breaths here. Start to walk the torso up and really help the legs to move. Pick one up and then the other. Bring the knees to the chest and give them a squeeze here. And then bounce the knees, rock the legs side to side. Just kind of let all of that go. Nice work. So I'll give you a few options for this next pose. If you are a yogi that likes to sit in square pose, or some people call it double pigeon, you really want the ankles and knees stacked, and this top foot needs to be, that ankle needs to be past the knee. Otherwise, you start rolling that foot in. All right, so we want to be all the way out here, in line, and the shins are in line. If your knee is like way up here, that's no big deal. You can always support it with a block. We're more interested in the forward mobility of the pelvis in this position. So it is a lot of external rotation. If you're in this pose, come into a forward fold, don't worry about it. If it's horrible, then you can stack the knees into a pose known as shoelace. And if you like this shape, it's less external rotation, less torque on the knee joint, and you can also start to walk your feet further away from you and then come into a forward fold. If all of this is horrible, straighten the bottom leg and then stack the knees this way and you can come into a forward fold. All right, so any of those versions that you like. Come as far forward as you can and make sure the toes and the ankles are relaxed. Don't fidget around as much as I am. All right. And last few breaths here. Yogis, we're going to stay in the forward fold and just start to walk the hands over toward that top foot. So we're going to come into a big old twist here. So you can use your elbow in the arch of the foot for a little bit of support. And this is good for any variation that you're in. All you got to do is just walk toward the right side. And last few breaths here. And then walk the hands back to center. And then bring the torso up to vertical. Help the legs to move. We'll go ahead and bring the knees to the chest again here. And bounce the knees, rock the legs side to side. And we'll do that on the other side. So this time the left leg is on bottom. Any variation that you are working on, whether it's square pose or shoelace or with that bottom leg extended, go ahead and get situated. There's no rush. And then come on into a forward fold. Notice how the body moves as you breathe in this position. It doesn't matter how far forward you get. The only thing that matters is what you think about how far forward you are or how far away from that top leg. And that's something that I talk about a lot in classes, is that it doesn't matter what you're doing, what matters is what you think about what you're doing, and which always, kind of leads us to thinking that we're bad at something or good at something, or that we don't do enough. or that we're doing it right or wrong. It's one of the things I'm grateful for about my little back injury that has been just over a year now, is that I really have this opportunity to walk into, kind of like walk right into that wall of what I think about what I'm doing, because everything seems almost impossible for me. So I guess I can't define myself by how far forward I am or what a great arm balance I'm in. You have to change the story. It's not about who you are, it's about who you are becoming. Louise, we'll start to walk that torso all the way over toward the top foot. All right. Gonna anchor it in with the elbow. The jaw, and notice how the body moves as you breathe in this position. Start to walk the hands back to center. And then walk the torso up. All right. Help the legs to move. Give the knees a little squeeze here. And bounce the legs and rock them side to side. You can take the hands back behind you, get lots of length along the front of the body. And then keep the feet hip width apart. We'll come into this forward fold caterpillar. So again, if you're only feeling it tight on the backs of the legs, bend the knees a little bit. Since we aren't stretching muscles, we want to stress the joints. So we want to really focus more on the mobility of the pelvis here. So come on into a forward fold. You can rest the head on anything you like.
Notice how the body moves as you breathe in this position. Just like that standing version we did. Dangle. Different relationship to gravity. About halfway there, take a deep inhale. Nice work, yogis. Start to walk the torso up. Take the hands back behind you, get lots of length. And then bring the knees to the chest. And start to rock up and down the spine a few times. So you can skip it, I am. Or you can rock up and down the spine and notice any flat spots. Try to smooth them out. About 3 more rocks.
And then make your way onto the back. Bring the knees to the chest and go ahead and drop them on over to the right side. Nice easy twist here, no big deal. If you have the knees up close to the shoulder, it's going to move that twist up into the upper part of the thoracic spine and shoulders and neck. If the knees are further away from the shoulder, moves that twist down into the lower thoracic, lumbar, hip area. So up to you, whichever feels better. Notice how the body moves as you breathe. And last few breaths here. And bring the knees back to center. Level out the hips and the shoulders and walk the feet about mat width apart so you can start to drop the knees in toward each other. This should feel pretty good right about now. And bring the knees to the chest, yogis. We'll take that twist on over to the other side. So any version, knees up close to the shoulder or further away. Notice how the body moves as you breathe. Really easy to notice that in this position with this right side of the rib cage expanded.
And relax the jaw. And your spine loves a nice long twist. Nice work, yogis. Bring the knees back to center. Level out the hips and the shoulders. Take the feet wide and drop the knees in toward each other. Nice internal rotation of the upper part of the leg. Okay, yogis, you can give the knees a little squeeze here if you want a little bit of a counter pose. Go ahead and drop your mic. That's what I actually was just. Go ahead and grab your block. All right. So you can. We're just going to keep it on its mid-height side, your lowest side, if you prefer. Lift the hips and put it not under the sacrum like this. You want to slide it down so it's more near the sit bones. We want a lot of forward tilt on the pelvis, and then straighten the legs, and you can take the feet wide. So this gets lots of length along the front here. If there's too much compression in the low back, take your feet a little bit wider or flip the block onto its flat side. All right, this should feel pretty awesome. Bring the awareness back to the breath. Just that meditation on how the body moves with each inhale and each exhale. Softening each breath. And just watching the breath wash up onto the shores, wherever it is that you're holding. We'll stay for about 1 more minute. Yogis, if you have your block on its mid-height side, lift the hips and flip it onto the flat side. If you're already on the flat side, we'll just catch up with you here and take a few breaths so we can bring the hips down slowly. Bend the knees, lift the hips, move the block out from underneath you. Level out the hips and the shoulders, take the feet wide and let the knees drop in toward each other. Nice work so far. We're going to come into dead bug, so you can just bring the knees to the chest, reach up for the outer edges of the feet, and you want the knees to slide down along the rib cage. So if this is ridiculous, then bring the soles of the feet together, and you can just kind of let the weight of the arms pull the feet in towards you. So that's going to be a lot more comfortable for some of you. Otherwise, you can kind of let the feet hang out. So I like to do this with straight legs sometimes. So any version that you like, as long as you're not energizing and trying to get anywhere. So just let the weight of the arms do the work for you, okay? You can rock side to side if you like. Come back to that awareness of the breath. And then go ahead and bring the knees to the chest. Give them one last squeeze here, and then slide the feet away from you for Shavasana. Now take the feet wide and take the arms really wide and kind of up overhead today. So you can create this sense of vulnerability in the physical body. Take a deep inhale. And let gravity take over. Relax the jaw. And let the tongue drop from the roof of the mouth. Smooth out that little space between the eyebrows. Slowly begin to bring the awareness back into the body. And back to the breath. And begin to slowly move fingers and toes. And circle the ankles and wrists one direction and then the other. And roll the arms and legs in and out. And turn the head to one side and then the other. Take a big stretch up overhead, yogis. Hug the knees to the chest, roll all the way over onto your left side. Come on up to a seated position, keep the eyes closed. Bring your hands together at your heart center in Anjali Mudra, where we connect our everyday self with our infinite self. And just take a moment here to observe this new subtle suppleness in the body. This new freedom. And make a decision here where you can allow this suppleness to find its way into other parts of your day, into your thoughts and ideas, into your relationships, into your belief systems, and maybe some new suppleness in how you measure success. And we are all one, yogis. Namaste.